Lincoln, Andrew Johnson, Cleveland, and Truman. In the fall of 1864, Abraham Lincoln was running for his political life against General George B. McClellan. It was a time when Americans could have ended the war by casting their ballots for McClellan, who'd campaigned on a platform that implied he would negotiate an end to the war and, possibly, repeal the Emancipation Proclamation.
But Lincoln is not willing to take those steps that some people say would guarantee his re-election. Rescinding the Emancipation Proclamation, agreeing to an armistice with the South, agreeing to recognize the Southern Confederacy.
When he did refuse to back away, it looked like it would be at the cost of his re-election, because it looked like he would be defeated.
Looking back, it seems inevitable Lincoln's going to win, but it certainly didn't appear that way in 1864.
2 months before the election, the tide turned for Lincoln. General William Tecumseh Sherman had burned Atlanta and would, 10 weeks later, begin his infamous march to the sea. Suddenly, the Union Army had momentum, and so did Lincoln.
Even though America was engaged in a terrible, bloody war, so many casualties, just unimaginable bloodshed and devastation, he still won 56% of the vote in the loyal states in 1864. That in itself is an extraordinary testament to people's faith in Lincoln.
It was a bittersweet victory. The misery of the war had taken its toll on Lincoln, emotionally and physically.
It's hard to find an American president who aged more than Abraham Lincoln did in 3.5 years. I think what you see in his face is knowing that he bore some of the responsibility for this whole disaster.
Four years to the day after Lincoln first took the oath of office, he was taking it again on March 4th, 1865. This time around, Lincoln was a changed man. His visits to the front lines, his experience of living among the wounded at the Soldiers' Home, and his periodic commute between there and the White House brought him face to face with average Americans and contraband slaves. It had all deeply affected Lincoln, making him empathetic to the humanity of all men. Speaking at his second inaugural, he signaled his growth as a politician and compassion as a man. In what may be the most moving speech ever written by a president, he laid out his roadmap for peace and reconstruction of the nation, pledging malice toward none and charity for all.
He's talking about democracy. He's talking about liberty. He's talking about the necessity of terms with slavery in history.
On April 9th, after Lincoln's inauguration, Robert E. Lee surrendered his Confederate Army of Northern Virginia to Ulysses S. Grant. The war was nearly over. Soon after, in what would be his last speech, Lincoln showed no signs of vindictiveness. Echoing the same themes from his inaugural address, he called upon the nation to heal itself. He spoke about giving favorable terms to the South, and for the first time in public, about granting the black man the right to vote.
It would be very easy for Lincoln to say at the end of the war, when Union victory is completely guaranteed, God's on our side. This is what presidents nowadays say. They know what God believes. They got a direct pipeline. Lincoln doesn't do that. Lincoln says we don't know what God's will is. So we've got to rely on our own judgment.
A couple of evenings later, on April 14th, Good Friday, the Lincolns attended Ford's Theater to see the comedy Our American Cousin. It was Lincoln's last night on Earth. Abraham Lincoln had grown up revering the Founding Fathers and the American democratic experiment. It was because of this first revolution that Lincoln was able to enjoy political freedom and equal opportunity. But by trying to save the republic the Founding Fathers had created, Lincoln transformed it and himself.
Lincoln faced the greatest crisis the country had ever seen, and he rises to the occasion. But in rising to the occasion, he changes his views.
Lincoln came to see that everyone, no matter what their race, creed, or religion, had a right to live the American dream.
I think what America is at its best today is a reflection of the steps he took to preserve the Union and to eradicate slavery and to ensure democracy and equal opportunity. I think the fact that we enjoy the opportunity to debate and to quarrel while retaining a single national spirit and a national purpose is all the result of Lincoln's achievement and Lincoln's sacrifice.